From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. This is Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Not forget the Junior. Very important, remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you are watching us on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, get the bell notification for when we drop that fire content. Also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. Glad you have found us here since the start of Saints training camp, because we've been doing some work on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. We were on for an hour today. We'll be on for an hour tomorrow. We'll be on for an hour again on Thursday, because that's what we do with the Saints training camp show. New week, Monday. Still hot out there. It was hot out there today, but we did have some moments of nice breeze despite the sun, which felt pretty good out there. But it is a new week. We're getting slowly into Andre, Juan and I were calculating the practices. If there are 21, and this was practice 5, are we at the quarter turn? Maybe we might be at the first quarter turn of Saints training camp. So, boom, it gets moving and moving fast. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like time flies. I mean, to essentially be entering the second quarter of Saints training camp, it does feel like this went by so quickly. And I mean, we have football this week, not Saints football, but the NFL with the Hall of Fame game is back this week, and soon before you know it, we'll be talking about Saints preseason. You'll be in California, and I'll be probably on this set, and we'll have the split screen going, talking about the preseason.
Whatever works.
For now, we got to get into training camp because it was a really big day out there, day 5 of training camp.
It was a big day. It was the day real football began because pads came on. It's funny, we talked to some linemen, we talked to some D linemen, O linemen, and they were all kind of grinning like, yeah, this is where we can play. This is our moment now, because our job is not done 7-on-7. It's not done with shells or shorts and jerseys and helmets. It's with full pads, full contact. Now, they're not going live to the ground. They're just doing kind of that pop thud thing. They're not taking guys to the ground. But nonetheless, it was the first day of real football. And if you listen to Kellen Moore, felt like those first 4 practices, he kept hinting at this being the week, this Monday being the week, this turn of the week was going to be the turn of training camp, because that's when the intensity has to rise. And there's only so much you can baby step your way to it. At some point, the pads come on, you got to hit somebody. And they did so today. It was a good practice. And we'll get to the big picture in a minute with what I want to really talk about today. But as for today, I thought the defense had another good day, particularly the defensive front. The edge pass rushers look really good in this Brandon Staley scheme. It is very early, but you're seeing Granderson, Chase Young. Those seem to be the top 2 guys right now. Cam Jordan has been in the mix as well off the edge. You're seeing the interior with guys like Brian Brzee, Shepard, Saunders. It's interesting some of the alignments they're using, because they're mixing in base and nickel personnel. So it is a quote-unquote 3-4, but sometimes you'll see 2 outside edges instead of the 3 down linemen. You'll see a down lineman getting taken out. So it looks like 4 across, but it's 2 stand-up edges. So it's very unique, because we just haven't seen that around here in quite some time. And just for today, and we've done so many pods on this, but I want to be fair, because we have to talk about it. We're not going to spend the whole pod on it, but it was the day Tyler Shuck ran with the ones. This is easily the most amount of reps he's gotten in a practice all camp. So the rep count is leveling off. And I will say this still. At some point, they're going to have to talk to him and just say, look, man, even if it's a bad decision, make the decision. Because right now his hesitancy is hurting him. Very bad. Very bad might be too strong, but it's hurting him, because what happens in these situations, Andre, is if you're not making a decision, you don't just necessarily fall behind the play. You fall behind in the evaluation, in that it's incomplete. In other words, last year at this time, I recall Rattler was struggling around this point at camp, but he was still making decisions. I know he had a few picks, his timing was off, but he was making decisions, so at least you were able to evaluate the football. But with Shuck right now, with now 5 practices under his belt and still having that natural hesitancy, what's going on when he drops back, you're not even getting a full picture of, okay, was that a good throw? Was that a bad throw? Was it the right decision? Was that the wrong decision? Because ball's being held on to for far too long. I was asked about the 7-on-7, him scrambling a lot during 7-on-7, which is not something you normally do. Kellen Moore, stood up for him, said, he's doing an excellent job. It's a rookie. And it's been so long since we've evaluated a rookie in terms of starting quarterback material. In fact, I've never
Yeah.
I've never covered a rookie, and that rookie being his first year in the mix to be a starter. So I'm just not used to. I haven't kept up with the rookies around the NFL. I don't know if this is normal the first 5 practices. I know they're not supposed to look like MVPs their first 5 practices, but I do think at some point they just got to tell them, look, just throw the ball, make a decision. At least then the valuation can get caught up to where Rattler is right now.
Yeah, I agree, because right now, we talk about the quarterback battle, Rattler versus Shuck, and you can't leave Haener out either because the Saints aren't leaving Haener out. And I think Rattler's doing what he needs to do thus far. I don't think he's, everybody asks me when I see him, hey, how's the quarterback battle going? Who's blowing everybody away? I don't think Rattler's necessarily blowing everybody away. I think he's just, doing the bare minimum of what he needs to do. Jake Haener, we've seen him kill it at practice. We need to see him in the preseason, and I think the coaching staff understands that too, because it's those game situations where he struggled. But Tyler Shuck has not kept up in this competition, and he needs to step up and make this a competition. And like you said, he needs to be more decisive. You guys talked to Brandin Cooks, and we're actually going to show you that Brandin Cooks interview later in this episode. But when you guys talked to Brandin Cooks earlier, he mentioned Tyler Shuck specifically, and he said, hey, I'm just telling him he needs to play fast and play decisive. And if you make those mistakes, we can learn from those mistakes, because trying not to make mistakes, that's like trying not to lose a ball game instead of trying to win a ball game. And right now, Tyler Shuck is it's almost third place in this quarterback battle, because I think so far he's been outplayed by not only Rattler, but Haener too. So at some point, he's going to have to start showing that he can do this at practice. And I talked about preseason earlier. Nobody needs the preseason to get here more than Tyler Shuck, because that might be, if he can make a big statement there, his opportunity to kind of climb back into this thing.
And I think it goes a little deeper for me, because it feels like he's behind because he's not giving himself a chance, because he's not really making a decision on a play. So you're not even getting out of the batter's box. You know what I'm saying? You're not even giving yourself an opportunity. I mean, there was Day 1, there was a deep comeback on the left side to Chris Olave. The throw's there, he hesitates. There's a play during one of the red zone sessions, I think it might have been Sunday. You see Shaheed, and he kind of see his reaction, we should have threw it right there. He ended up throwing a completion to Chris Olave, but there was a hesitation, and he brought it back. And there's been at least 3 or 4 like that, and it's happened on 7-on-7 as well. I think there needs to be a discussion of, look, like, this is the time to make mistakes if you're going to make them. Like, make the throw, because what ends up happening is if you're not making decisions, you're not unlocking what your potential is, and that is the arm talent. We're not able to see it because you're not making the correct. You're not even making a decision on a play. You're just being very indecisive. So he's got to work through it. He's got to take it. He seems like he has the right attitude about it. But I do think you got to be reasonable in the evaluation. And it's just you don't even have the same level of evaluation, because you're not even making the same throws, because you're not deciding to throw the football. So that's where it stands right now. I'm not going to do the whole pot on that, obviously, but I wanted to bring that up because I think today was the first time we were all watching, like, okay, there probably needs to be, he needs to step up in that regard. You've got to make a decision, because if you don't even give yourself a chance in this competition. I
agree. I mean, Tyler Shuck right now, I remember we ran the poll on here, and I think last time I checked, Tyler Shuck had a slight lead. A lot of Saints fans wanting to see him be the starter this year, but I think maybe it's too many people get caught up in training camp stats. And as we move into the social media era, you see that all over the league. People keeping track of, this quarterback was 6 for 11 for 1 interception, 1 touchdown. That doesn't matter as much as what you're saying, and when it comes to getting that evaluation. If Tyler Shuck goes 7 for 10 with an interception, at least you can fix that. But if he goes 4 for 5 because he's scrambling on a 7-on-7 instead of trying to make a play, it's harder to work with that from a coaching staff position. And speaking of the coaching staff, head coach Kellen Moore has really taken a different approach to this training camp than anything that we've seen before. I mean, you dealt with Sean Payton and people from that Sean Payton tree for about 20 years, and now we get something new, we get something fresh, and practice looks so different, and it seems like the players are feeling it.
Well, look, this is where we wanted to go with the big picture today, and it's basically, now that we've gotten in the pads, and now that they've moved out the amp-up phase, they've had their first off day and into like the next week of work, where he really wanted to step it up. So you're able to add more team periods, but they're getting the pace of practice is really starting to show out in a very impressive way. Now that I've seen, because I called out the early offseason stuff, this is the lightest workload I've ever seen. The first 2 practices, this is the lightest workload I've ever seen for training camp. Now I'm starting to see it really ramp up. And we talked to Cesar Ruiz. He said it's intentional. We talked to Brandin Cooks. He said it's fast. And that really goes by the way Kellen Moore wants to play. They are getting so much work done in a relatively short amount of time. Today was their longest practice at 1 hour and 22 minutes, I think it was. 1 hour and 22 minutes. I remember being out there in the dog days of late July and August, 2.5-hour marathon practices, and at least a half hour of that were guys standing around hydration breaks because it was so hot. That is not the case. He has shrunk all that to a point where every single thing is detailed and intentional. You get right into a team session. I think he said today they worked in a few TV timeouts to get used to that. But all in all, the get in, get your work done fast, move from point A to point B to point C to point D, then get off the field, get your recovery, get your workout has been remarkable. Today, they're basically going through 3 team periods, but it's actually 4 over a 3-team period stretch because they're splitting the field. They did this on Sunday. They did it again today where they had team sessions going on the field at the same time. So you had Tyler Shuck on one field, Spencer Rattler and Twos on the other field, and they're getting what it's done is it's doubled the reps. Yeah. So you're getting that much more work done in the same amount of time. You talk about efficient, detailed down to the second. It's taken me a while to come around, but after watching today, I am all on board with the way the flow of this training camp practice is going with Kellen Moore. He really has this scheduled down, and I hope it pays dividends later on because I don't know whether from a talent standpoint, but maybe from a health standpoint and just from a overall physiology of the body standpoint, hopefully this is the way to do it for the Saints going forward.
Yeah, I mean, just from the health standpoint alone, I mean, last year, affected by injury by the New Orleans Saints. You had a quarterback, you had 2 running backs, you had about 5 wide receivers, 4 offensive linemen, 2 corners, a linebacker, and whatever you want to call Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
All affected by injury in one season, and we saw the effect of that. I mean, you have players like Cam Jordan still saying, like, man, if we stayed healthy last year, we could have done something special. And if you look, I know Saints fans are probably tired of saying it, but if you look at those first 2 games against the Panthers and the Cowboys, the Saints were the darlings of the NFL. They were the team to beat. They were the breakout, dark horse, phenom team that all the NFL had to keep their eyes on. They wound up playing a 1-possession game with the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 3, the eventual Super Bowl champions, and then those injuries really start to hit. Eric McCoy goes down in that Week 3 game. Taysom Hill goes down Week 4. You lose Paulson Adebo and Rashid Shaheed soon thereafter. Chris Olave goes down. And so if you can do anything in July, because these players are going to take so many hits in September, October, November, December. If you can do things now to cut down on that load, I think you're making the right choice.
And look, they're getting the reps. They're getting the reps. Now it's finally happened where they're getting the reps. The last 2 practices really sold me because they got 4 team periods, like I said, over what would be the time of 3 periods. They got 4 in. That's impressive. And you got to be incredibly detailed. The guys feel energetic still. It's hot out there, but they haven't really been bogged down by the heat. So it's been impressive. So it's something to certainly watch. One player who probably has the most history with Kellen Moore, just in terms of playing for him, is Brandin Cooks. He played for him when they were in Dallas together, so he knows him well. And we were able to talk to Brandin Cooks today on the Saints Training Camp show about all those things. Kellen Moore, being back, new offense, style of play going forward, training camp, and we want to play that for you right now.
Happy to have with us a guy that's been around the block a few times, Brandin Cooks. 12th year in the NFL, 2nd time around with the black and gold. First off, welcome back home. This is home.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Any place that changed your life is definitely going to be considered home, and obviously this place changed my life being drafted here. So I'm thankful to be back. I really am.
You are one of the few guys that has extensive knowledge of a Kellen Moore offense. Yeah. What can you share? What secrets can you share without giving too much away about what makes this offense special, so special enough to where he's a head coach pretty quickly for a guy who rose up the ranks pretty fast?
I mean, anytime you call plays like he did, over these past few years, there's no shock that he's a head coach. But the one thing I can share is we're going to play fast. We're going to get the ball in the playmaker's hand. and you guys, we, or whatever case may be, go make a play. Yards at the catch is going to be huge. And you've seen that throughout all his offenses. Guys making plays after they get the ball in their hand.
I'm really curious on what sold you on coming back here again. Was it something with the new coaching staff you love what they were putting in, installing, and realized it might work really well with your game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're talking about Coach Moore. You got a coach that just got done winning the Super Bowl, and you use his playmakers at a high level. So definitely familiar there. And then you talk about the strength staff and Ted Rath. I truly believe he's one of the best in the NFL. And, being in year 12, I think that's important to be able to continue to prolong that career. And then our receiver coach, Doug, he's known me since I was 16, recruited me everywhere. I've always said no, but finally, better late than never. And so I'm thankful to be, with him from the same city. So it was just one of those things that was important. Yeah.
Your 3-year stint, you were a young guy.
Yeah.
With big dreams, with big dreams. Now, I mean, you're a guy. You've 12 years in the league, so you've experienced a lot. I mean, what can you share to the young guys around you? Just basically because you've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
You've played on a lot of teams. You've dealt with a lot of adversity. What can you share with the young guys?
Truly, it's cliche, but taking every day, taking every year, one at a time. Not looking too far forward. I think when you get into that. You can kind of get overwhelmed and be like, man, I want to play 10 years, but I'm 9 years away. And so, taking every learning lesson and taking advantage of that and taking every success and building upon that, but really taking that every day at a time and continue to just build and work on yourself.
When you got in the league back with the Saints as the first-round pick, was it taking your career and how you wanted the path to go by 5 years at a time? Get to 5, get to 10.
Honestly, to be very honest with you, I've heard about that, but I've always kind of took it 1 year at a time.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to get better than I was the past year, you know what I mean? Or I wanted to be better the next day than I was the day before and just continue to learn. I never got into the 5 years in process just because, like I said, I never wanted to get overwhelmed on looking too far ahead. Yeah.
You got here the first time around. You had a NFL Hall of Famer as quarterback.
Yeah.
A little different this time around. You got some youngsters in that quarterback room. It's one of the youngest quarterback rooms in the entire NFL. How can you help their development and whoever wins the competition become the best quarterback they can be?
I think ultimately communication and building that confidence. Obviously, the game is a game. There's going to be some throws out there that they wish they could have had back. But somehow as a receiver, either coming up to be able to make those plays, can build that confidence. And then the communication part, seeing what we see, but ultimately giving that confidence, hey, if you see it one way and it's how you want it, then no matter how long I played, you're the one that's throwing the ball, it's how you want it, we'll make it that way. And I think that's important to never get above yourself that, since I played so long or who I played with, they would have done it like this, because everyone has their own little signature.
I was going to say, how much communication are you having with a guy like Tyler Shuck, who I imagine – 5th practice in, and things are flying. Right now. You've been there as a receiver, but it's maybe different, a little different for a quarterback.
The ultimate goal, I just tell him, we all tell him, just keep playing fast. Keep playing fast. If you're going to make a mistake, make it fast. That's what it's all about. Don't overthink it. Get out there, let it fly, go through your progressions, and play fast.
It's hard not to overthink it.
No,
rookie,
for sure, especially when you're in a –
Go back to when you were a rookie.
Especially when you're in a competition, but the faster you can get to that mindset, I think the better off you're going to be.
How different is this training camp compared to some other ones you've gone to? It feels like you're flying by here. You're getting so much work in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I said about Kellen. Like, you're going to play fast. So practice may seem like they're going by fast, but we getting a lot, in that time. And that's a testament to how he expects us to play on offense and on defense, is to go out there and be ready to play fast. But definitely did different in that aspect, and obviously my first time around was in West Virginia, so I wasn't dealing with this.
That's right.
It was a little bit different, wasn't it?
A little cool, a little breeze, out in the mountains.
Snap my fingers.
Yeah.
I am curious. I know you said the reason why you wanted to come here because particular coaches on this staff and what they've done in the past. But when you look at the receiving core that's here as well, Shaheed, Olave, I mean, there's some talent there. You got Alvin in the backfield. Does that play an even greater part in your decision to where's my next step going to be?
No, absolutely. You want to know that you're playing alongside the guys that's going to be making plays at a high level, so you can see one-on-one. You know what I mean? go have fun getting doubled for a short period of time, and then they're going to see what everybody else is doing. But absolutely, having guys around you that's making plays at a high level is no question important.
The expectations, we've asked everyone that sat with us, the expectations on the outside are not high. Let's just put it that way. They're not. But inside, feels like the same aspirations, same goals, and it's not like you guys are lethargic out here. There's a high energy. Have you picked up on the energy is where it needs to be for a training camp right now?
No question. I mean, the way you guys are going about the business, really, and I truly mean this, you're not hearing too much complaining, if any, about how hot it is. Guys are just strapping up, putting their work boots on, and going to work. And I think a little bit of that has to do with because of the expectation on the outside. It's like, no. We're not going out like this. And that's what you want to see from your teammates. You see the fire that's going on out there. And that's all you can ask for, and everything else to take care of itself.
We hear a lot of receivers talk about get to that 1,000-yard season. You've been there and done all that stuff. Where are your numbers at right now? Maybe not specific numbers, but where do you want to get out of yourself this year? 12 years.
12 years. I'll be lying to you to say I wouldn't want to get to 10,000. That carrot right there. But I also know at the same time we do got playmakers on this team, and so just once again taking it one game at a time, doing my job at the best of my ability, and when my opportunities come, take advantage. And when we look up, at the end of February, we'll see where we at. But
I alluded to it earlier. You obviously have experience in the Kellen Moore offense. When you obviously he went to Philly, LA and then Philly. But when you reconnect with a coach, does the language pick up like you're riding a bike? Like you know exactly what he wants at that point?
No, you definitely know what he's looking for. You know the language, and it come from it recently in Dallas. A lot of that, some of that terminology is similar. Like you say, you kind of pick back up on it. And you kind of get in that flow. Yeah.
Happy to be here?
No, I really am.
Really?
I really am.
Yeah.
I really am. It's full circle, man.
Did you think you'd be back in this place again 12 years later? I know the NFL.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have thought that. Not because of, obviously, you got a lot of love for Mickey, you got a lot of love for this organization, so it has nothing to do with that. You don't really hear, 12 years later, at least the way I see, you never really hear guys going back too often. And so, once again, that goes back to me just focusing on where I was in the moment. And but I am truly happy to be back. I really am.
Yeah. You seem at ease. I remember you as a young rookie. You had big dreams, and you were obviously a guy that wanted to take over and be best wide receiver in the NFL. You seem like you're at ease with sort of how your career has played out, and you're in a good spot right now in your
I'm
career.
In a great spot, man. You had some ups, had some downs, had a lot of highs, and as would just come with the game. I think I truly am blessed to still be here, and when you say I'm at ease, like I'm in a good spot. I really am. Doesn't mean that that fire's not there to still play at a high level, because that's definitely there. But some of that stuff I worried about when I was young, is you learn to be like, wait, what am I tripping off? I'm playing the best, the most beautiful game in the world. This game has been so good to me. Just take advantage of your opportunities, and you know what I mean? Let everything, like I always say, let everything else take care of itself. I truly am blessed.
And, of course, you don't come here unless you believe this team can win.
No, you ain't coming here. I mean, listen, and I'm not saying this from a fun – I made all the money in the world, been smart with it. You don't just show up to a place in year 12 and think, oh, I'm going to go there, but I think we're going to be trash.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy. Especially having camps like this in this heat, you don't go through that for nothing.
Yeah.
I go through it because somehow, some way, we pushing a shot to everybody.
Brandin Cooks.
Great
to see you, man. Great to see you.
Thanks for big things. Brandin Cooks, veteran.
You too.
Veteran, senior receiver.
Hey, no, we're going to cut that one out. Ain't no senior in there.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, so that was Brandin Cooks. Good to have him back. And, look, I covered him as a rookie, and he was a young, eager, 21, 22-year-old. I remember him saying, I want to shock the world. He had big dreams. He was a quality football player for 3 years. He was traded so much. He was traded so many times.
A lot of first-round picks
throughout his career, from Saints to the Patriots to the Texans after that, and then the Texans to the Cowboys, or was it the other way around? I'm not sure exactly the actual order
was. Texans to Cowboys.
Texans to Cowboys. And I even said, you heard it in there, I said, you just feel at ease. You just seem at ease. He goes, I'm in a good place mentally. I still got the fire, but I'm in a good place mentally. I don't stress over the small stuff. So it was good to talk to Brandin Cooks today. So he had a nice catch today earlier. It was one of Tyler Shuck's better plays today when he connected with Brandin Cooks on an over route. So Cooks is a guy, we'll see how he factors in. I think he's best at this point of his career, a 3, a high-end 3. I wouldn't get lost in his production or reception count during training camp because he's a veteran, and it's like one of those things where you don't need to see it every day, but you still need to see it. So I think that's the case with Brandin Cooks. But it was good to talk to him today.
Yeah, definitely, and just the experience that he brings. I mean, he's caught passes from 2 of the 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time, and Tom Brady and Drew Brees. He's played under coaches like Sean Payton, Super Bowl winner, Mike McCarthy, Super Bowl winner, Bill Belichick, multi-time Super Bowl winner. So he's seen it all from a, football mind point of view. And now all of the things that those legends poured into him, he can now pour into a young receiving room with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed and Bub Means and those guys. He can pour into a very young quarterback room and Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. And he mentioned, obviously, those guys aren't going to play like Brady, but if he can take a tip or two that he picked up from Brady and Breeze and impart it onto those young quarterbacks, that'll only help the Saints.
Yeah, and I love what he said when he said, look, one thing I learned is, look, I tell these guys, if you like it this way as opposed to that way, you're the guy delivering the ball. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna change to make you feel comfortable, because one thing I've learned is every quarterback has their own style, and they're the ones that got the ball in their hand every play. So he just sounds like, I remember him so vividly as that young kid, and now he's kind of he's the experienced, he's the wily old veteran, and I think wasn't sure about it when they first signed him, but now that I can understand why that room needs a player like that, like Brandin Cooks.
Yeah, all through the offseason, early offseason, I said they need a veteran in the room. They need a veteran in the room, and I think Brandin Cooks is that veteran presence.
All right, we got to get out of here. All right, good pod today. Keep up with us. We'll be back Wednesday. For Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.